Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Matchbook Horse Racing Podcast, where we've got more Grade 1 action coming your way this weekend. We've got 3 Grade 1s this weekend, working backwards from the John Durkan, which we'll finish up with, Punchestown on Sunday. What a race that is. The Tingle Creek as well, and the Henry VIII. We'll go in order when we get to it from the Tingle Creek and do Sandown. Then we'll do Aintree as well, which features the likes of the Mini Clouds and the Becher Chase. A proper weekend's racing. Looking forward to it. Joined by Micheál Deasy, Matchbook's own. How are you, Deasy? You okay?
Very good, Tom. Very good.
Top man by Steve Jones at SJ Racing Media. How's things, Jones? Are you okay?
Yeah, very good. Thank you.
Good stuff. And Donn McClean. Don, how are you? You must be. Are you at Punchestown on Sunday?
No, I'm at Navan on Saturday, Tom, and
fair enough.
Yeah, home for Punchestown Sunday. But yeah, look, what a weekend ahead.
So it's a monster weekend, and that honestly, we were musing as to where a British horse would feature in the betting as far as the John Durkan went. I mean, outside the top 3, I think. But anyway, there we are. That's a proper race. We're going to finish up there. We're going to start with Sandown. But before we do that, let me remind you that if you're liking our content and you're watching on YouTube, give this video a like, and you can subscribe for free. It makes sense because it makes it easier to watch each and every time you've got to do so. If you're listening on a podcast, give us a review and do give us a follow on your preferred podcast app. DC, we've got some extra place markets this weekend.
Yeah.
Tell us about it.
We've recently extended our offering of place markets. So if you just go to the homepage, click on a race, you'll see the place tab, and there's generally now an extra 3 or 4 place markets going down to 4 or 5 places per race. So if someone is looking for a bit of extra value, they're a good addition to the site.
With races like the Becher, where you've got a massive field, it definitely makes sense to do that. So look for those extra place markets, particularly if we're putting up any big prices that we fancy mainly in the place market. Might make sense to take advantage of those extra place markets. And of course, insights.matchbook.com is there for you for a recap of any of our bets. And that goes for all the podcasts across the footballs, good weekend of Premier League action, and the NFL as well. Right, high time we got on with the previews. So we start with the Tingle Creek 225 at Sandown. Look, we know we don't have Shishkin, which is a great shame, but nonetheless, it's a decent enough renewal, I think it's fair to say. Right at the top of the betting, you've got Chacun Pour Soi, who's going to be the mount of Mr. Patrick Mullins, who is 2.2. Nuba Negra is 4.0. Grenadine is 6.0. Captain Guinness, another Irish raider, 15.0, as is Hitman, who has Harry Cobden on board, and Bryony Frost keeps a ride on Grenadine. She was on board for that celebration chase success when he defeated Altior. Okay, so Chacun Pour Soi, first of all. Donn McClean, take it away. Chacun, the best 2-miler around?
Yeah, I think so, Tom. Yeah. It's very hard to argue with him, bar his Cheltenham defeat in the champion chase, which I don't know what the reason for that was. He just, having done everything right through the race, he got there, went up whatever, a length up on what they get on, and she's just so tough. She battled back, and then he went to Punchestown and did what he does. So he just, I know it was the first time at Cheltenham, so that's still a bit of a question mark. But he'd done everything right before that. It's hard to argue he didn't get up the hill. He's got up hills in the past. So yeah, it's just a little bit of an underperformance for whatever reason. But he proved at Punchestown that he is that good. And it's great that he's coming over, because the Tingle Creek Chase, it's, when we knew Shishkin wasn't going and you were told you had 5 runners, you probably would have chosen these 5. And it's great that he's going. We knew that an Ergomin wasn't going to go, that Willie Mullins was only going to send 1. So interesting that Patrick Mullins is riding him as well. I don't think Patrick's ever ridden him in a race before. So that's an interesting development. But we know how good Patrick Mullins is. He won't lack for that. And yeah, look, he's head and shoulders above everything on ratings. Grenadine.
Can I just jump in on Patrick Mullins? Is it a negative compared to if Paul Townend was riding?
Well, he's an amateur rider, so he's not a professional. But he's, how close are the top amateurs to the professionals? I'd say very close indeed. You take him and Derek O'Connor, Jamie Codd. I just think that the very, very good amateurs are he's not going to do anything wrong on him, is he? Like, you can't think that it is a negative. I think the top amateur riders, with all the experience they have of riding in the top class races as well, like Patrick Mullins is a multiple Grade 1 winning rider against the professionals. So yeah, I don't think it's a negative. But just on Captain Guinness, I think he's an interesting horse. Look, he's got bucket loads to find with Chacun Pour Soi and Nubia Negra and Grenadine on ratings, but I just think he could improve a good bit this year. He settled nicely the last time at Naas, and he's such a good jumper of fences. I'm dying to see him at Sandown over the railway fences. I think he could just zing over them, because he's a kind of a free-going sort, but if he can strike the balance between being restrained and settling through his races with that kind of, I suppose, that 2 mile aggression that he has, I think he could improve. I think he could be better than a mid 150 rated horse this season. And look, it's hard to see him beating Chacun Pour Soi, but he's had a run as well, so I think he'll outrun his odds.
And he is 15.0 Captain Guinness. I mean, as far as a bet goes, so would you play both of them, Don? Would you just stick with Chacun as a bet and keep an eye on Captain Guinness? How would you play at the prices?
Yeah, it's hard even. I think Chacun Pour Soi is probably the right price at, what's he, 6 to 5, what, 2.1, 2.2? Yeah. So I think that's probably about right. Like, if there's value in the race, I think it is Captain Guinness at 15 or 16.0.
Yeah, it's 15.0 Captain Guinness. DC, your team Chacun Pour Soi?
Yeah, Don has said it all there. I suppose the only real negative against him is that it's his season appearance, but that's never stopped him before. And his only bad one was at Cheltenham last year. I think he's a top class horse. Like, they all have a run under their belts compared to him. I think he'd win the race, but I wouldn't be putting cold hard cash on him tomorrow. I'm quite happy to watch this race. Very interested to see Captain Guinness as well, and Hitman. I think Captain Guinness is much better this year. I've never really backed him before because he just never looked like he settled properly, but he was good the last day. And I have fierce time for Hitman as well, although I think this is probably a step too far at this stage in his career. I think he'll be a good horse in a few years' time. I think he's a lovely jumper. But yeah, I think Chacun should win this if even if he's 90% ready, he should beat these.
Steve Jones, you're smiling and rubbing your hands.
I just don't see that he's beaten anything, Chacun Pour Soi.
Beaten everything.
He's beaten everything. But if you go back through his form, he beat Min, who's a 2.5 miler, and then he beat one finisher at Cork on his comeback last season. Then he beat a Notebook, who's once further as well. And then after that, although you could probably argue that Notebook's a 2-miler, but Fakan Dudaris is certainly not a 2-miler. And then at Cheltenham, I thought he just came up against proper 2-milers and did everything right as you could and couldn't get the job done. And then last, everyone seems to be getting excited about what he did at Punchestown. Oh, he beat Allaho, who's not a 2-miler. Nubia Negra clearly wasn't on his form. I just think he's completely overrated to be an 11 to 10 shot in this sort of race. And I can't see how Nubia Negra, who finished in front of him in the champion chase and should probably have won the champion chase, is so big, and having had a run and an impressive run where he looked to have improved when he won the Schlur chase at Cheltenham. I thought it was really impressive that day. And he's just got so much going for him. I think Nubia Negra is going to be a top 2-miler. And I think at the prices, he's the only one to back. I just can't understand the betting on it, to be honest. And long may you guys pile into Chacun, because then hopefully Nubia Negra might be 4.0 or something.
But, why wouldn't you back Grenadine then if you don't like Chacun? What's putting you off Grenadine, Steve?
Because I think Nubia Negra is a Grade 1 horse, and I think Grenadine is yet to prove that. I think that
except for his Grade 1 win.
Oh, come on. Yeah, okay. Back end form, I don't trust at all. I mean, that was very good. But he's not, I mean, finished behind Nubia Negra, albeit a couple of lengths in the champion chase, but didn't run very well at Exeter, did he?
Who? Grenadine?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's your prep run for this. Perfect. Carrying top weight, prep run for this.
Best of luck with that project. I'd rather have a prep run when you beat a former champion chaser by 6 lengths rather than getting beaten 20 at Exeter. But anyway, that I can't understand the betting on this. I really can't. I think the hype around Chacun Pour Soi, and it would worry me a lot that what happened at Cheltenham the last 200 yards, because the similar things happen up the Sandown Hill as well. But I just like to say Tingle Creek is a fantastic race. We've seen it all down the years, how many good horses. And it's named after one of the real great 2-milers who was at his best around Sandown. And I remember it was ridden by Ian Watkinson. Am I keeping you up, Tom? So, are you all right?
I just need to get the matchsticks to keep my eyes open if anyone's listening. If anyone's still listening on the pod, probably not.
So Tingle Creek used to blast off in front. No one could hold him. None of his jockeys could hold him. And he used to just eat the fences. He was ping, ping, ping. And I remember talking to Ian Watkinson, who was one of his regular riders. And towards the end of Tingle Creek's career, and I think it was at Fontwell, and another horse in the same field was ridden by a lady amateur. And she said to Ian Watkinson, bearing in mind, Tingle Creek had been one of the highest profile horses for years, and it always gone out in front and was miles front after about 2 fences. And she said, how are you going to ride your horse? And he thought, God, has she never seen any racing before? And she said, because I wouldn't like you to take mine off. He likes to make the running, and he can get a bit carried away. And Ian Watkinson said, look, if your horse is within 15 lengths of mine at the second, I'll buy it off you.
And it wasn't.
No.
It wasn't yet. Wasn't Tingle Creek, wasn't one of his jumps at one of the Sandown fences, wasn't that the kind of first kind of side-on view of a horse in full flight over? I think Steve Smith-Eccles rode him for that shot, didn't he? Maybe. I can't remember.
Yeah,
it was that kind of stereotypical, shot of a horse jumping a fence from the side.
Absolutely. And you can get them on YouTube, and it is a staggering sight to see him.
Dees, you knew that the Tingle Creek was named after a horse, right?
Well, I assumed it was named after a horse. I don't remember him. But, I thought it was named. I thought it was named after a patch of water. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that. That was very interesting.
I agree with Steve. Not the story. I agree with Steve's Steve's comment on Chacun Pour Soi's price. I feel that there are some more imponderables here. With regard to obviously Patrick Mullins taking over and Sandown and reappearance, and just enough to make me think, I like Grenadine's profile. Obviously he's won a Grade 1 around the track. Bryony Frost definitely got the best out of him, and I just think he's the overpriced one as opposed to Nuba Negra. So that's where we differ. But I probably want to take on Chacun just about at the prices. I just wouldn't lay him. I just have a small stakes bet on Grenadine.
Is that why Bryony Frost is riding it, Tom? Because she got on so well with him the last day, and Harry Cobden's on Hitman.
Yeah, so I think after she won the celebration on him, it was always said that she was going to keep the ride. And then she rode him in what Paul Nicholls said was a prep race for Grenadine. And it was Hitman's target was the Howden Gold Cup, and that's why Harry Cobden rode him. And then they're not going to swap round, I guess, because she's won the Grade 1 on him. So yeah, I think he's the overpriced one. And he progressed rapidly last season. So it wouldn't be the first time that Paul Nicholls caused a bit of a surprise in this race either. Politolog won it a couple of times, and maybe you'd still consider him shy of top class against some of the very best around, but he still won this a couple of times. So I think it's Paul Nicholls' time of year anyway. So I'm going to go Grenadine. Anything else to say on the Tingle Creek, gentlemen? No? Good. Moving on. Let's go to the second Grade 1 we're going to look at. This is the Henry VIII Novices Chase, the 150 at Sandown. Third time lucky is 3.5. Edwardstone is 5.0. That champion hurdle. He's over fences now, James. The champion hurdle bet slip's gone. Manila Drama is 7.5. Warlord is 7.5. 9.5 for Il Ridotto. 13.0 Stolen Silver. Do Your Job 17.0. Steve, straight back at you. Who do you like?
Funny story. I remember talking to Henry VIII one. No. Edwardstone's he would have been a really top hurdler, Edwardstone, but he's been unlucky because it's been so wet the last 2 winters. So he liked the ground, but I've just been so impressed by Third Time Lucky. It's not really my style, short prices, but he's something like 2.5, which isn't a bad bet, I don't think, really. I mean, I wouldn't go mad on him. But
do you think it's strange, Steve, that they're running him again? Like, I know it's a Grade 1, and I thought it was interesting that Dan Skelton said after the last race, he said he was fitter for his first start of the season because he's such a fresh, buzzy horse. He wanted to get him really fit. Then last time, he was actually less fit, probably a bit heavier going into the race. And what do you make of the fact that this is suddenly a third race in relatively quick succession?
I wouldn't totally use the weight analysis as fitness, to be perfectly honest. I think that's a bit misleading at times. Well, he wants decent ground. So why wouldn't you run in a Grade 1 on decent ground over 2 miles when you've looked by far the best novice chaser so far? And then you can have a break, and then you can come back in February and go into the spring festivals. I mean, why would you not run in it after 2 runs? He hasn't had 10 runs; he's had 2. I'd have been more surprised if he hadn't run in it, because at the end of the day, this is Grade 1 race. The Grade 1s aren't easy to win, but this one would be a lot easier than most. So I think he just wins. I've been really impressed with him. I can see him gaining lengths down the back over those fences, and that'll be key.
Yeah, I suppose it's the logical next step, isn't it? Step up into Grade 1 company. He doesn't need help with his jumping anyway. He probably needs help to really settle, but he certainly doesn't need help with his jumping. He is a flying machine. He's my selection as well. I haven't got too much to add. Yeah, I think his jumping will be served very well around here. So he's definitely the one to beat. DC?
Yeah, I'm Third Time Lucky as well. You kind of said it all. I think he's the only horse in this that could be potentially top class. I'd say the rest of them could end up as handicappers. So I think he's a bit of value, and it's no surprise to me that the Skeltons are running him a third time. They run their horses every 3 weeks, I'd say, if they could. So yeah, I'd say he's a good bet in this.
Dom?
I'm surprised at Steve deserting Edwardstone. Thought I was joining the Steve bandwagon here. Yeah, I think this is a race where the prices are a wee bit skewed. I think Edwardstone should be much closer to Third Time Lucky in the betting than he is. And I just thought after the October win, Third Time Lucky's October win when he beat Buddy Rich, I thought he became a fashionable horse then. Suddenly he was on Arkle lists and people were quoting him for the Arkle, and he wasn't as impressive the last time. 3 runs in quick succession. I don't think that will be his undoing, but I just think Edwardstone, he was a higher rated hurdler. He jumped. He was unlucky the first time at Warwick to be brought down. He was traveling really well, and then last time he was very good at Warwick. And those 5 fences down the back straight at Warwick, they do take a lot of jumping for a novice. And I thought he jumped really well. Like, of course, he's going to have to step up on the bare form of that to beat Third Time Lucky. But yeah, I think, the Steve says the ground's in his favor. Good jumper, high class hurdler. I think he can progress to be better than a handicapper, and yeah, I think he should be closer to Third Time Lucky in the betting than he is. I think he's the value of the race.
And he's 5.0. Tom Cannon and Alan King, having won at Warwick last time. Not much else to say about this, chaps. We're happy to kick on. Proper job. Move on to the 3 o'clock. Nearly got that wrong. So this is the London National, and it's nice and open. Remember those extra place markets you can take advantage of. We've got 10 in here. Strictly a Dancer looking for the quadruple is 5.0. Dias Abba is 6.0, as is Larry. 8.0 Highland Hunter. A point bigger at 9.0 is Christmas in April, as is Salty Boy. The Mighty Don 10.0. Red Infantry 13.0, Claire de Guy 17.0, and Cease and Spirit 29.0. I feel like I should just say this. It's so hard to say. I'm just going to try and get it out. Steve, you were right. Ooh, so hard to say. But yeah, the Mighty John's jumping let him down at Charlton, and you were right. So well done. So I'm going to desert him here. I just can't go in again.
We got the value, though. We got the value.
We got the value, Deasy.
He was punted off the board. It's just pity there was fences that had to be jumped. look.
Damn those fences. Right, DC, off you go. Who do you like?
Christmas in April to place. If you go back through his form, every race that he runs in has the word national in it. He's a national horse. He needs 3.5, 4 miles. He's in good form this year. Like a lot of the Tizard horses, he might have been top form last year and was probably a bit ahead of his mark. He's rock solid. He could easily hit. I back him to place. I probably have a very small win bet just in case, but it'd be mainly a place bet. And again, you can take advantage of the extra place market. You might get 4 places. I think he'd probably be close to odds on to hit four places. But yeah, I just think just in nationals, he's rock solid. This is his kind of race. And
just a place bet though, just a place.
Well, I'd probably have the minimum stake on the win just in case he does win, but it'll be mainly a place bet. Yeah, I can see him hitting the top 3. Yeah.
Okay, Christmas in April 9.0. Don.
Yeah, look, I can see the case for Strictly a Dancer. He just keeps on winning. He keeps on going up in the handicap. I keep being against him, and he keeps on winning. That's the way he goes, and I'm against him again. I just think he's up, £7 for his win the last day at Haydock, and he's into a better grade. I think Daisha Abba, it looks like he's been laid out for the race. He's won the same race at Sandown for the last 2 seasons, the Masters Handicap in February, and he again won at the last day. He's only run twice at Sandown. He's won both of them. He is stepping up in trip to 3 miles 5, and that's a bit of an unknown, but I think there's every chance he'll stay. Like he's run well in the Kim Muir, and I just thought his run over hurdles the last day was very, very good. He was only just beaten by Koshari, who was a massive price on the day, having joined David Christie from Willie Bullins, but he was just outstayed by him, beaten a neck by him on his first run back. He had remastered, of course, back in 3rd place that day, and remastered may have won, possibly would have won the Ladbrokes Trophy there on Saturday if he hadn't come down at the 4th last. And Pylon, who finished 4th, is running later on Friday, so it's going to be interesting to see how he goes. But I just thought Daisha Abba, he's a better chaser than hurdler. He is rated higher over fences than he is over hurdles, but it looks like that was a run to bring him forward. And, you know, we've said it a couple of times on the pod, Philip Hobbs's horses just weren't going well last season. They're going a lot better this season. And I just think he's been trained for the race. He's up to a mark of 140, which is actually down from his mark in the Kim Muir, down £2 from that. It's £5 higher than his hurdles mark, the mark off which he ran at Aintree last time, but he's a better chaser. And given that he will probably come forward from that back at Sandown, on kind of good to soft ground, that should be fine for him. So yeah, I think he's going to take a lot of beating.
Dees, you want to come back with something?
What if they're just running Daisha Abba is to protect his handicap mark for the Punchestown? Because he's qualified after that.
Protect what his hurdles mark.
I'm only taking the piss. That was the bad joke.
No, I'd say he's possibly in line for the Pretemps final as well.
Yeah, he's qualified. Someone to win a London National and win the Pretemps in the same season. Hope he does it.
That'd be impressive, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I like Strictly a Dancer. I can't find a reason why 5.0 isn't fair enough. I think we're going to be looking at decent ground, which he seems to want. I'm really interested they've gone with cheek pieces because, mind you, last time I thought he probably looked as though he needed something, but he has won 3 on the bounce. Jack Tudor clearly gets on very well with him. I think he was value for last time. £7 rise is fair enough. They had, I think Niggle was about the track last time, Christian Williams. He wasn't sure Haydock would suit, but it did. I think a test here will really suit. And I found him a very difficult horse to oppose at the top of the market, 5.0, Strictly a Dancer. Steve?
You were puzzled why a horse that run twice in small field novice chases was running for a 3rd time in a Grade 1, and you're not puzzled why a staying chaser is having his 4th run in about 6 weeks. I think going up in distance will suit Strictly a Dancer, but this is not many handicappers win 3 on the bounce, and I think he's still feasibly handicapped, and I think that the distance will suit, but they're going again quickly. I was always told certainly with horses that wanted a bit of a trip, that you didn't run them again within 3 weeks. Well, he's run within 3 weeks 1 week, and now he's back in 2 weeks. That would put me off massively, Strictly a Dancer. I was leaning towards D Saber. I like his chances. I would certainly have the pair, certainly have D Saber. But the one I can't let go is Red Infantry. I love these old boys in these sort of races. And you look down even this race, the last 3 of the last 4 winners, 2 have been 12, 1 has been 10. The other one was 9. So, and Red Infantry is 11. And I didn't think he ran at all badly last time at Warwick. He was up with a really red hot pace. All the others, the most of those in front of him, certainly the first 3, came from right out the back. So I didn't think that was a bad run at all over 3 miles around Warwick, where he jumped well. Last season he won at Doncaster, so he's feasibly handicapped on that because he's only a pound higher than when he won at Doncaster in March. And they've swapped he usually wears cheek pieces, but he's got a visor back on. And he's done a lot of his winning in a visor. I think he's worn the visor 6 times, and he's won twice, and he's finished second twice. He also, one of those races was in this race 3 years ago when he was second. And he also won over hurdles at Sandown. So what is he, about 15.0 Red Infantry?
13.0.
13.0, winning place. I think that's the way to go in this race. He can be a bit of a funny old boy, but if he gets up front into a rhythm in the change of headgear, I think he's got a bit of a chance, a real good chance.
I quite like the case you've made, even though you poo-pooed my selection. It's a cogent case. Don't mind it at all. Red Infantry 13.0 then. Christmas in April was 9.0, mainly in the place market for Dees. Dees Aber at 6.0 for Donn, and Strictly a Dancer at 5.0 for me with the cheap pieces on. So take your pick in that one. Just pick your favourite tipster. Let's kick on to the last at Sandown. We're going to look at the last of the ITV races at Sandown, and it's a listed handicap hurdle. Tough, I thought, to solve this one. Right at the top of the betting, you've got Benson, who's 5.0. Hudson de Grugy is 5.0. Metier, finally out again. Tongue-tied for the first time. Course and distance went at 6.0. Samarive is 8.0. Then we get stuck into the bigger prices, and it's just boring if I list them, so I won't do that. Right, a couple of shouts for Metier, first of all. Don, take it away.
Yeah, like he's the horse with the potential to be high class, isn't he, in the race? Like Hudson de Grugy, you can see the case. He was good the last. I thought he battled well the last day. Like he didn't travel very well to the top of the home straight, and he had to dig deep to beat Will Sting, and Will Sting didn't enhance the form next time. And that was soft ground. The ground would probably be better on Saturday than it was that day. So, and he's up 4 pounds. So I think he's probably going to have to improve again. Look, you can see him improving because it was his first run of the season. And he's back at Sandown, where he's won 3 times now from 4 runs. He finished second in the other one. So there's a lot to like about Hudson de Grugy, and he's probably the solid one. But I just think Metier, like, it's very difficult to weigh him up. Like he was sent off a short enough price for the Supreme Novices Hurdle last March, and okay, he ran very poorly there, but he's wearing a tongue tie now for the first time, so that's probably significant. He's had wind surgery in the past. He was a good horse for Andy Slattery. He was rated in the 90s for Andy Slattery in Ireland. He ran in the October Handicap, ran well in that off a high mark. So he's an interesting horse, and he won the Tolworth Hurdle last season, obviously a Grade 1 race, albeit maybe not the strongest Grade 1 race ever run at Sandown, but still a Grade 1 race, and he won it well over the course and distance. Obviously the ground was softer that day, as it always is for the Tolworth, but he's got form on better ground as well. So yeah, I just think like he could completely underperform, but I think in terms of I think if you're looking for a solid one to run his race and go close, Hudson de Grugy, and he might well win. But I think for the winner of the race, I think Metier at a bigger price than Hudson de Grugy represents better value.
Metier, who Harry Fry admitted just wasn't right, and came back completely wrong for that run in the Supreme. DC, you agree?
Yeah, I thought he was very impressive before Shelton last year, and he was very disappointing that day. I was looking at Harry Fry's stable form, not great, but they had a winner. So I think it was yesterday. So, and his hurdlers are fine. I think, like as Dan said, he's the one that out of all these that could probably progress to be top class. And I think he's a nice enough price, 6.0. I'm happy just to go win only on him. The other horse I was looking at was Ellen Valley, who won on this card last year. He won the Juvenile hurdle, but I don't think the ground will be soft enough for him. If there's torrential rain tonight, which it isn't forecast, he might be a bet, but I'm going to stick with Met here.
Helen Sheridan is along. Hi, Helen. You have strongly suggested Benson. So I thought I'd give you a mention because you've written Benson 4 times. So Helen fancies Benson. Steve Jones, who do you fancy?
Well, I wish we were doing this on Saturday morning, because this is the kind of horse that the more I look at it, the more I fancy it. And I'm in big danger of getting too involved in it, because I just cannot believe that the price of this horse. Zambezi Fix. What is he?
Put it up on your value rater column.
I think he probably will be. He'll be sent to all clients, as they say. Was he 17.0?
Yes.
I mean, this horse, it was trained by Gordon Elliott. It was a Cheveley Park horse with Gordon Elliott. And he had some promising form in his younger days in novice hurdles. He's joined Bernard Llewellyn, who some people might never have heard of, but a very shrewd trainer who over the years has shown he's a good trainer. And since he's joined Bernard Llewellyn, he's been running solely over fences. Well, he's finished second 3 times. And the reason he's finished second 3 times, and he's also failed to complete twice, which isn't a big surprise, because he cannot jump. And he would have hosed up the last day at Fosslas. And that wasn't a bad race. And he was running all over them until he fell, I think, 3 out of 2 out. He has got a massive engine, this horse, and he's lower over hurdles than he is over fences. And I just cannot see how they should go a decent pace in this. That'll suit him down to the ground. I haven't fancied a horse at this price like this for a long, long time. I think he's just so well handicapped. And I know that there's horses in there with pretensions to go and be better horses, like Metier's got the grade 1, but they've got the weight to show for it as well. But Zambezi Fix is one of those that people will ignore all the time because it's Bernard Llewellyn and he's been running over fences. And I just fancy him. I just fancy him so much.
I think we should get that clipped up, and then we can quote it about anyone. Just Steve going, I just fancy him so much.
Well, I always say it about you, Tom.
Just get picture of Cristiano Ronaldo. I just fancy him so much. I can't do that. Good. Big price, Steve. I've got one here. I really fancy at the prices. That's Miss Heritage. I'll keep it brief. Bryony Frost back on board, who was on board for her last win. The Ajero market raisin form is very strong. Ajero on that occasion was rated 129, has now subsequently gone up and won since. The Langer Dan form is very good, obviously. Langer Dan rated 130 on that occasion, is now rated 140. And last time I thought travelled really well, actually, at Ascot on the front end when just getting tired. Air was a disappointment. That may have been because of the ground. That's the worry. I think she probably wants it softer. But I definitely thought that she's overpriced at 15.0, Miss Heritage, with Bryony Frost back on board. So I will be backing her win and place. We're done with Sandown, chaps.
Can I just say, yeah, I'm winning place as well. And I'm strong at winning places. You might have guessed. Strong win and place. Okay. That is you fancy Bernard Llewellyn. You fancy Bernard Llewellyn's horse. I'm childish. We're all childish. Right, let me tell you about the sign-up offer. I think that's where we are now. So the sign-up offer is the £15 welcome offer. It's the money back as cash if your first bet loses. It's for new customers only. And to take advantage of the offer with MatchBet, you need to use the bonus code InsightsRF. Those are the letters RF, InsightsRF.
Place your first bet. If it loses, your stake will be refunded as cash. The full terms and conditions are on the Matchbook website. That's the £15 sign-up offer for new customers only. Take advantage of it. On we go to Aintree then. So we're going to the 1:30. We'll go in race card order at Aintree. 1:30 is the Juvenile Fillies Hurdle. It's the Racing is Everyone's Sport Fillies Juvenile Hurdle, and there'll be rainbow saddles and the like at Aintree and at Sandown everywhere, I think, on Saturday, celebrating that cause. White Pepper is 3.0. Lady Pacifico is 7.5. Adosh is 8.5. C Sessions is 8.5. 9.5 for 6 feet apart. Then into the double figures. This is just not for me. Absolutely no bet whatsoever. DC, you can start off making the case for White Pepper.
Yeah, another favourite. But if you watch back White Pepper's last race at Galway, I just thought the way that she won was incredibly impressive. She was a good few lengths in front coming around the home bend, and she just kind of got her breath, let them come back at her, and then just took off again. And there's a stiff enough field at Galway. Like, I mean, I think I probably didn't beat much, but I thought it was quite an impressive performance. Gavin Cromwell wouldn't be sending her over just for a look. She's actually been over to England already this year. She ran in Goodwood in August. Ran an absolute stinker, but still, this will be her 5th run of the season, we'll say. She's plenty of race fitness. I think that's a nice enough price as well, 3.0. I think she's a decent bet in this.
Don, you agree?
Yeah, I agree with a lot of that, Tom. What Micheál said, like as Micheál said, her run at Galway was very, very good. She just powered away from Iberic de Soil, and Iberic de Soil went and ran close to Lunar Power. Next time at Punchestown and Lunar Power finished 2nd behind Field Door, the Triumph Hurdle favourite there at Ferryhouse at the weekend. So it's a decent run. She'll handle soft ground as well, and she's a progressive filly. Who look? It is interesting. It's a bit of an Irish Festus. Joseph O'Brien's got a horse in there as well, a filly in there for Peter Saville, 6 feet apart. And I think C Sessions is interesting as well. Of Ross O'Sullivan's, she finished 2nd behind Field Door last time, and look, she was no match for Field Door, but she was well beaten by him. But Field Door, I thought Field Door was good the last day at Ferryhouse. I thought he had to I thought he was a kind of an unsolid favourite for the Triumph Hurdle after that win, but I just thought the way that he beat Lunar Power the last time, and Lunar Power is a good horse. I thought he did well, and C Sessions, so that was to be beaten 16 lengths by Field Door. There's no disgrace in that. And C Sessions on her run before that, thought she did really well to finish 2nd behind Bell X1. She got pretty badly hampered early on in that race and stayed on. Well, she had to jump a faller actually at the flight in front of the stands. And she did well to get back up and finish 2nd behind Bell X1. So I think she's an interesting filly. I think she can progress, and she might be a wee bit under the radar. As in, I just think I think she's probably been a wee bit underrated by the market. But I think the most likely winner is White Pepper. Like the C Sessions and White Pepper, which is the more likely winner? Probably White Pepper, which is the value? Probably C Sessions actually. But White Pepper, just the way that she did it the last day, and just the strength with which she went to the line, she's got a much higher rating on the flat than C Sessions has. So I think she's probably the most likely winner. I think she's the right favourite.
And Steve, your selection?
Yeah, I like C Sessions. C Sessions is a great music festival in Donegal. Deese knows that. Deese is a regular there, I'm sure. And White Pepper is interesting because Gavin Cromwell's won this race twice in the past from only 4 runners, and he obviously targets it. But I'm going to go with the other Irish horse, or one of the other Irish horses, is 6 feet apart, who is really well bred. Peter Saville owns and bred this horse. It's related to Rainbow Peak, who was a Royal Ascot winner going back in the past. And presumably that she was just too big and backward to get many races on the flat. She only made her flat debut in September, and then ran perfectly respectably both times in maidens. But then on her hurdles debut at Ferryhouse, I was quite impressed with that. She won really well, I thought, and of a horse that was going to improve again. And she's quite exciting. And I get the point with White Pepper setting the standard, but I think 6 feet apart. It might just come a little bit too early, but she's certainly one that has the ability, I think, to play a big part in this. And so at a slightly bigger price, because I think she's about 9.0, 10.0, isn't she? Something like that. I think it's worth taking a chance with
her. Yes, indeed. Yeah, 6 feet apart is 9.5 for JJ7 and Joseph O'Brien. Good local knowledge on that music festival, Steve. Where's Donegal?
It's in Ireland, Tom.
Mm-hmm. Whereabouts? What part of Ireland?
That's the Cork.
Sorry, you're breaking up, caller. You're breaking up.
It is home to the nicest of all Irish accents. Donegal people, when they talk, it's just chocolate for the ears. It's beautiful.
I thought that was cool.
That's not where you're from, then, Dave.
No. It is the opposite end of the country. It's the most northern county.
Chocolate for the ears. Right, the 205 is the Many Clouds Chase. And at the top of the betting, you've got Protectorat, who is 2.75. Native River is 3.5. Imperial Aura is 5.0. 7.5 for Simply the Bets. Then some bigger prices. Steve, Native River, you can make the case, and a few of us will follow you in, I think.
Yeah, I love him. He was beaten in this race last year, but they took all the fences out. So hopefully, as I'm not going to Aintree, I hope it's not a sunny day, because he wouldn't want the fences taken out. And the way he destroyed Bristol de May at Sandown in that race that was rearranged from Cheltenham, the Gold Cup trial, I thought was just wonderful last season. Ran a really good race in the Gold Cup. He's just a top horse and has been for so many years. And I know Protectorat is kind of the young pretender, but I didn't think his form was anywhere near as good. I thought he ran a great race at Cheltenham last time when he in that handicap last time. But his novice form that everyone's obsessed with is nowhere near Native River, what he's achieved in his career. And so I'm willing to take him on with a horse who has been top class for about 5 years.
Yeah, and I think if the rain comes, I think you fancy Native River at 3.5 now is worth taking, because I think if the rain does come, as it's forecast to overnight, I can see him going off favourite. I don't have anything to add, really.
They always said in his younger days that he needed good ground. And it was only his Gold Cup win that they changed their mind and said, oh, no, he needs soft ground. So I wouldn't worry either way. It's soft enough for him. It's his jumping that wins.
DC?
Yeah, like the weather forecast site I use, it says there's an inch of rain coming to Aintree over the next day. Like, so I mean, I could see Native River going off favourite. I think Protectorat's price is crazy. This is his first time going up to this distance as well against high class horses. I can't see him winning it. Native River, if it gets a bit softer, I think he'll just go off up in front and just kill him in his jumping and his travelling. And the other horse, I think if it comes up heavy, I think Sam Brown might be worth a bet to place, especially definitely 4 places and 3 places. He will like the ground. He's had his problems, but he's gone off favour for some good races in the past. And I think if conditions are in his favour tomorrow, he'll definitely outstay a few of them. I mean, there's a few of them in there that, like, Tiger All isn't going to be on day at all. This is a run out to get his mark down. I think he'll just go for a pop around, and I can't see. I know Don has put up Simply the Bets. I think this might be a bit too far from. I think he's 2.5 mile horse, and I can see Sam Brown running into third or maybe second behind Native River. So I'll have a little place betting him.
Don, Simply the Bets.
Yeah, no, I share that concern. Like, we don't know if he's going to stay or not, and if you just watched his run the last day in the Paddy Power Gold Cup, you'd say he's definitely not going to stay, because he faded really badly from the second last fence. But he was up at the pace early that day, and it was a race in which they went a relentless gallop. Protectorat came from the rear and got up and finished second, almost won the race after Midnight Shadow made that mistake at the last. But Simply the Bets, like, he did shape like a horse who would get further than 2.5 miles before, when he won the Paddy Power Gold Cup before. He won the Paddy Power Plate at the Cheltenham Festival. He stayed on really well to get the better of Happy Diva, and he is bred for it. I think it's down 1 over 2 miles, so or 1.6 miles on the flats. So I think it's an interesting project. I think Protectorate is the most likely winner, and he's got Aintree form as well. He's a 6-year-old, and I take Steve's point on Native River. He's done way more than Protectorate has done, but he's improving. And the way that he finished off his race the last day, you'd think that he'll get 3 miles okay, for all that he was beaten out of sight at Kelso over nearly 3 miles. But his win in the Manifesto Chase, that's a positive over the course. And look, it'll be good to see Tiger roll back. The ground is probably going to be too soft for him, but it'll be good to see him back at Aintree. But I think at the price, it's worth taking a chance on Simply the Bet's stamina for the trip. It's a second run for Paul Nicholls, a second run back after a wind operation. I think they're all positives. So yeah, I think at about, what's he, 8.0 or thereabouts?
7.5.
7.5. 7.5.0.
He was definitely the next one on. I couldn't have Protector at the prices.
Yeah.
Imperial Aura hasn't completed in 3 now, and that fall was a crashing fall, so that would concern me. I think he's very interesting, definitely. 3 shouts then for Native River, 1 from DC for Sam Brown, and 1 for Simply the Bets from Donn. And moving on to the easiest race to solve, the Becher Handicap Chase over 3 miles 2. It's a 22 runner field. Rather than list you prices, I'll give you the prices of the horses that we put up. Current favourite is joint favourites currently, actually, Mac Totty and Snow Leopardess at 8.0. Okay, Don, straight back at you. Off you go.
Yeah, it's pity Ascaria 10 isn't in this. It would have been interesting to see him going. He was anti-post favourite or joint favourite for it. But yeah, I like Kimberlite Candy, Tom. I just think this race, it is a race in which course form continues to come to the fore. And it's also a race in which age is not a negative. Like normally with these handicap chases, you look for young horses who are progressing and have the potential to improve beyond their handicap mark. But I think for this race, like, it's been won by a 13-year-old, a 14-year-old in the recent past. Vieux Rouge won it last year as an 11-year-old. He's back now as a 12-year-old. And I think Kimberlite Candy is a 9-year-old. I think he's the right age for the race. He's got course form. He finished second behind Vieux Rouge the last day, and I think he came home. I think he lost a shoe last year. And I thought he ran really well. He jumped the fence as well. The ground, the rain that's coming is in his favour, and 3.25 miles on soft ground is probably optimum for him. He ran in the Grand National last year, and he was pretty well beaten, and he was well beaten in the Eider Chase as well when he ran in that over 4 miles. So those extreme trips don't tend to suit him so well. But back over 3.25 miles on soft ground, that should be pretty close to ideal. He's down 3 pounds from the last day. He raced off 153 last year. He's 150 now, whereas Vieux Rouge is up 5 pounds, so he's 8 pounds better off with him. And I think that, given that Vieux Rouge is now 12, rising 13, I think Kimberlite Candy has the potential to improve, to get up to him and beyond him. And yeah, with conditions in his favour, he goes well fresh as well. And yeah, I think given all of that, I think he's a decent bet at around 10 or 11 to 1.
Yeah, Kimberlite Candy is just that. I feel like you put him up a few times before, Don. Am I right in thinking that in a couple of things?
I might have put him up for this race last year.
Yeah, I think you did. Yeah. It's just ringing the bell when you were saying it, and of course he ran really well.
He sucks me in. Look, Chris's Dream. I'm dying to see Chris's Dream back over these big fences. He jumped in really well in the Grand National, and this is more his trip than I think the 4.25 miles. But he's just got an awful lot of weight. I mean, 11 stone 12 here. It's a race in which, even going above 11 stone, it's very, very hard. I think there's only been one winner in the last 10 years. Yeah, Black Lion's the only winner in the last 10 years who carried more than 11 stone. So Chris's Dream, he's a high class horse, and he goes well fresh as well. And 3.25 miles on soft ground over those big fences should suit him really, really well. It's just a big ask off top weight. I think Kimberlite Candy is more palatably weighted.
At 11.0 price wise. Who of Steve and DC wants to make the Snow Leopardess case first? Good. Go on, DC.
Oh, I was going to let Jonesy go.
No, I know. I was just winding him up.
I was pointing to him.
Oh, you were. Go on, DC. Off you go. Snow Leopardess. I'm just going to plug my laptop in. Off you go.
Yes. Look, Snow Leopardess has been. She just looks like this is going to be really up her street. She's the kind of horse that probably needs more than 3 miles. She will be off out in front. She can jump. She can stay. She's been to Aintree before, but not over the Grand National fences. I know that you were laughed about Charlie Langsden training, the winner of this. He's not actually having a bad season. I was looking at the stats there now. He's having a better season than the last 2 years. Not a great price. I had a lot of horses on the shortlist for this. I even thought LeBroy might be a bit of value. He's the way down the bottom of the handicap, but I think Snow Leopardess is rock solid, and price of 8.0. I'd probably back her just win only. I don't think I'd be going winning place in that kind of price. I'm sorry to be deserting Mac Totty, but I just think going up another couple of furlongs on heavy ground isn't going to suit him for all he's a good horse. But I think Snow Leopardess is a fairly solid bet.
And another one you've got, Dees?
Do I have another one in here?
Well, that's a confident shout for Achille then. That's oh no, is that Steve's other one? Yes,
You're giving the game away, man.
Oh, apologies, DC. So it's sorry, Steve. You're quite right. You are Snow Leopard. See the look of panic on DC's face. I fancy another one. Steve, you fancy Snow Leopardess and Achille.
Yeah, I'm glad you said it because I wasn't sure how to pronounce Achille. So I'm glad you went in first. But Snow Leopardess, I absolutely love her. She's one of the few mothers to come back racing, which is interesting. But she's made for this kind of test. I think she's made for the Grand National. If she wins this, she's likely to go up enough in the handicap to get into a Grand National, you would hope. But I just love her. She, like Dee says, she jumps and she stays. And she's just got a really good attitude. And she's got a lot of class. And she's got a low weight. And Charlie Longston is having a great season. So she has got so much in her favour. The only thing I don't like about Snow Leopardess is the price. And that brings me on to Achille, who I think is overpriced. And like Don said, age is never a barrier to success in these staying chases. And Achille's 11 now, but hasn't had a lot of racing recently. But when you consider that he goes very well fresh. He was only beaten half a length when second to Not a Chance in the Warwick Classic Chase. First time out last season. Then backed it up by finishing half length second again at Haydock to Lord de Menil in the Grand National trial. Now, Lord de Menil on soft ground around Haydock is virtually unbeatable. And Achille got within half a length. And then ran perfectly respectably in the Midlands National on ground that was probably a little bit, well, certainly would have preferred softer ground Achille that day. You'd hope that that's what Achille's going to get. Venetia Williams is in great form. So around 17.0, I would say Achille winning place is a good bet. But I just can't let Snow Leopardess go off in a race like that without backing her because I love her.
I can get that impression. I've got a couple at silly prices. I won't spend long on them, but Topville Ben, I'm really looking forward to seeing over these fences. He has learned to settle, which is a good thing. He's not just a terror. We saw that at Wetherby last year. He's been up in grade. I'm looking forward to seeing him back in the handicap, off £4 lower than that success, no less. And I think he's worth chancing at 23.0 over these fences. And the other one is good old Hogan's Height, who I think DC's put up over these fences before. The angle is that nothing against Paige Fuller, but the last 3 times she's been on him, he's just been a bit disappointing. I just wonder if Gavin Sheehan coming back on board will be no bad thing. Last time Gavin was on board was in the Grand National. We know he handles the fences, and I thought at 26.0 with Gavin Sheehan back on board, it was worth chancing. It's not a case of better or worse rider. It's just a case of change of rider. I thought was the angle with Hogan's Height. So he's a big price as well. That's my thoughts there. We done for the Becher? Have I got everyone in? Good. Let's kick on to the 3:15, the last race we're doing on Saturday. It's a handicap hurdle, and at the top of the betting is Tamar Bridge at 4.5. Who built Tamar Bridge, Jonesy?
Yeah, it was that guy that the university guy, wasn't it?
Brunel, that's it. Midnight River is
Brunel.
7.0. Pounding Poet is 7.0. Carries Commodity 10.0, 13.0, and Bigger the Rest. Don, who do you like?
Nothing really here, Tom.
Oh,
I thought.
Sorry. Of all the people I could have come to, you fancy nothing in this.
I did think Kerry's Commodity was coming to win the last day at Stratford when He came down at the final fence, thought, maybe back over hurdles off a similar mark, maybe, but I think maybe the ground might be gone for him by the time 3:15 on Saturday rolls around. So no, I'm sitting this one out.
Fair enough. And Kerry's Commodity is the horse that Deasy fancies.
Yeah, thanks for stealing my thunder there, Dan. I thought
Didn't mean to.
I mean, that was totally the host's fault for coming to the man first, who was officially put up no bet. And that's a skill. So there you are. Dees.
Yeah, I thought it was very interesting that they were going back to a hurdle race. I suppose the other way to look at it is it might be a little bit of a confidence booster getting over the smaller obstacles, but I thought he was running a cracker the last day, and John Joe is back on him, and he's a nice price. But the main bet would be Tamar Bridge, the favourite, another favourite. I'm very lazy this week. I think he's definitely better than his mark. I think he's a good horse. I asked you about him there a few weeks ago, Tom, and you said that he'll definitely win a few races, and then he duly won a race the following weekend. He will handle heavy ground as well if it turns into an absolute bog. So I'd have a little small win-only bet on him, and I will hold on Cara's Commodity until I see how bad the ground is. If it's very, very heavy, I think Albert's back could be a decent bet at 17.0.
Yeah, Tamar Bridge won nicely last time and is in a handicap for the first time. Steve?
This time last year, Ballyandy finished third to Song for Someone, Silver Streak, in front of So Royal, Somerville Boy. And now he's in a handicap off 140. And that's because he's not run very well this season. But 2 miles on good ground has never been what he wants. He's a horse that's it's got good form over this sort of distance if you go back far enough. But he likes soft ground. I think he placed in the Coral Cup. Am I dreaming that? I think he was placed in the Coral Cup over 2.5 off a really big weight. So he's now in a 0 to 140, which he just sneaks into at the top of the weight, and he's got a lad taking off £10, Finn Lambert, who I don't know much about, but he's obviously with Nigel Twiston-Davies, and all I do know is that he rode a winner at Fontwell, and when he rode that winner over fences at Fontwell, he looked very, very good for a £10 claimer. He looked strong in the finish, able to use both hands with his stick. And I think people are assuming that Ballyandy's gone because he didn't run very well in the Great Wood Hurdle at Cheltenham on good ground, and he didn't run very well in the Welsh Champion Hurdle, again on good ground. But if it's deep ground tomorrow, he's got a real load of class, this horse. And I think, what sort of price are we talking? We're talking big odds again, aren't we?
First of all, he was placed in a Coral Cup of £8 lower. He was third in the race won by William Henry a few years ago.
£8 higher, I would imagine.
Sorry, yes, he's £8 lower now.
I'd be amazed if it was only £8. To be honest, I'm going to have to check this, caller.
He was 148 when he was placed in that Coral Cup.
I've
literally just looked it up. He is 21.0, Steve.
Oh my God! What with
you really fancy him?
Zambezi fix. I might have to put all my money into some kind of strange multiple that gonna win me about 10 million.
You can do strange multiples on the Matchbook Exchange, can't you, DC?
You can, and you can win 10 million as well if you want.
You can.
Yeah.
There you go.
We're not going to cut you off at 2.
No maximum payouts here. I am going for a tentative shout on Martin Hull. It's not a strong shout, but he'll handle the ground if it comes. When he beat Carl Philippe at Exeter, there was all the suggestion that Carl Philippe would have won if he'd have been better at the last. But I was still quite taken with Martin Hull, and then he followed it up with a win. That maiden hurdle form at Exeter's worked out pretty well, and then I don't know. Cheltenham was, he was well outclassed, wasn't he? He went off at 19.0 and he was nigh on last. But I'll allow him that run, and I think he could be well treated off 132. So it's a small win and place selection, a tentative one. Good. We roll on to Sunday to an absolute beast of a race, the John Durkan, which is the 2 o'clock at Punchestown. the market is obviously headed by Envoy Allen, and it's going to be fascinating to see how he gets on back up in grade. Envoy Allen was even money last time I checked at 2.0, but I'm just going to refresh this page and confirm that for you. Yes, indeed. Fakir Dudery is 4.5, 6.0 for Allaho, the other cheeky park horse. Styrian Falange is 11.0, as is Janadil. Then we get into the bigger prices. Right. Envoy Allen, first of all, for Donn and Deasy. So off you go, Dom.
Yeah, look, it's a phenomenal race, Tom, and look, they're all standing their ground. You're kind of looking at Envoy Allen and Allaho and thinking one of them will run and one of them won't, but they're both running. You're looking at Styrian Falange and Mellon, both in the same ownership, and you're thinking one of them will run and one of them won't, but they're all running. All the Willie Mullins horses, they're all running, so it's just a monster race. Hopefully we'll get to see more of it than we did last year when, remember, Min won through the fog. They came out of the fog and Tornado Flyer was upsides Min, and you were kind of going, really? Allaho actually disappointed in the race last year through the fog, so I don't know if the fog had any impact on how he ran, but he was well beaten for some reason. But yeah, look, I just think Envoy Allen, like, I know he's an even money shot. He's not a bet for me, Tom, but I think he deserves a chance to get back into the slot that he occupied in racing psyche before he got beaten at Cheltenham, before he fell at Cheltenham, and then he was pulled up at Punchestown when he wasn't right. He was very good at Down Royal last time, and yeah, I just like to see him going back and recapturing all of that, because he still could be potentially a superstar for all that he's suffered 2 defeats now. But no, it's going to be great to see him back. And this 2.5 mile trip, I'd like to see him stretching out in trip and seeing if he could get the Gold Cup distance. But for now, 2.5 miles looks like his optimum trip, as it does Allaho's. Fakir Dudery's his optimum trip as well. I think 2.5. He was tried over 3 last year, and maybe as an older 6-going 7-year-old, he might get further in time this season, Fakir Dudery's. But no, I'm just, look, there's so many different strands to the race. I'm looking forward to seeing Envoy Allen again.
I know we're well over the hour, but sod it. It's a good weekend. So I'm going to come back in with a question just on that, Don. If Envoy Allen was still with Gordon Elliott, would he be campaigned more as a Gold Cup horse? But because of the armoury that Henry de Bromhead has over the Gold Cup distance, does that affect what trip he's over?
Yeah, it's a good question. Like, so Henry has Minella Indo, obviously, and Absolutara, and they're first and second in the Gold Cup last year. They're first and second favourites, or last season, they're first and second favourites for this season's Gold Cup. So, yeah, and you know, Henry de Bromhead, he's been talking about Envoy Allen's pace and how much pace he has. I wouldn't be surprised to see him dropping down to 2 miles at some point. So maybe, Sunday will tell a lot how he fares over 2.5. But if he goes and wins, then you're still not certain which way he'll go. But I'd like to see him being tried over 3 miles this year, Tom. I'd like to see, because we know how good he is over 2.5, and how good what all is achieved over 2.5. I just, he's a horse who he won. The point to point that he won was actually over 2.5 miles, interestingly. So I'd just like to see him going up to 3 miles, because if he does get 3 miles with the class and the pace that he has, then yeah, he could be a monster 3 miler as well.
DC.
Yeah, he's just really, really good. Like, I know he had a disappointing spring campaign, but maybe that was no harm, because he had to lose a race at some stage. And I said to you before this, the fact that Eddie O'Leary talks about him as like the greatest horse since I think he said was the greatest horse since Arkin, or the greatest horse to put a bride love. The fact they're saying that, I think, has to be a huge indicator of just actually how good he is. 2.5 miles be fine. Again, no, wouldn't be steaming in at the price, and quite happy to watch him win at even money. But yeah, I just think he's class. I imagine that he probably will run in the Gold Cup this year. I don't think Cheveley Park are buying horses to run the champion chase and stuff like that. Like, I know Allaho did man in the Ryanair last year, but I think that the plan he probably will turn up, even if Absolutara is there as well. I hope he does, and I hope he wins.
And Steve, you're looking away from the favourite. The official quote,
Yeah.
sorry, producer Daniel Hussey has got on the official quote. Eddie was talking about one of his horses, saying he's taking on the best horse ever to look through a bridle. On that's what he said about the favourite here. So there you go. I mean, personally, I would throw everything Eddie O'Leary says out with rubbish. There you go. Steve,
Sorry, I'm just on to my lawyer to make sure he's
It's full of hot air. Yeah. Anyway, go on.
I think in the last 50 years, there's been 1,236 best horses since Arkle. And there's probably been more that have been the best to ever look through a bridle. But anyway, I'm just looking forward to this race. I think it is a fantastic horse race. I think if you just concentrate on the form over 2.5 miles of Faka Duderi, like Don said, then he's got a real chance. This is his best distance, and that makes him very competitive. So I'm willing to take a chance at the prices with Faka Duderi.
And I'm willing to take a chance at the prices on Asterion for Longe. I mean, it could be an absolute crazy shout because he really didn't look a natural, I know, for much of his novice chase campaign. But that form that run in the handicap was impressive. And I guess the key was they went really hard and he settled. And he settled under Brian Cooper as well. So that man is back on board. They're not going to hang around here. Allaho is surely going to rattle on. So maybe you'll get more of a handicap type pace in that sort of race. Yeah, I just thought he was worth chancing. I know he's got a bit to find. Boy Allen is only rated £1 higher. I know that Steve obviously is obsessed with official rating, and I don't always put too much faith in them. But on this occasion, I think that's worth just noting. And I thought he was a big price at 11.0 Asterion for Longe. So I will be chancing him. It is a chance, but I thought he was overpriced. There we go. That's John Durkan done. Anything to add, gentlemen? No, best bets. Right, in the order I see you. So, Micheál Deasy, your best bet this weekend?
Native River.
In the many clouds. Steve Jones, your best bet this weekend?
Zambezi Fix, 335 Sandown. Winning place.
Really?
No.
I've cooled a bit, Don. I've cooled a bit now.
Go on, Josie.
I've made doubts. All in.
Really,
all in.
Really fancy him so much. Don, your best bet?
Kimberlite Candy in the Becher Chase, yeah. Winning place at whatever, 11.0, 12.0.
My best bet is my best bet is going to be Miss Heritage. It was going to be Third Time Lucky, but I just think she's massively overpriced. I'm taking you on, Jonesy. Miss Heritage at 15.0 win and place is my best bet. There we go. We got there in just under the hour plus 8 minutes. DC, thank you. Steve Jones, thank you. Don, thank you very much indeed. Don't forget to get to insights.matchbook.com for a recap of all the bets and like us, give us a like and a review on whatever platform you are listening or watching us on. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.